Now before we get into the video, I do want to say a massive thank you to today's video sponsors, and once again that is jerseyfifa.com. They really do help keep the content on this channel going, and they even sent me a free shirt which you can see on screen here. And as you can see, I got the new Manchester United home kit, and genuinely the kit really is top quality. I highly recommend their product. So make sure to get in a link in the description down below, and now if you use code JerseyFifa at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. You get a great football shirt, and you help support the channel, which I really do appreciate massively.
Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are back with the Champions League content for Inter versus Barcelona. But before we get into that, I just want to apologise for the fact that this video has been uploaded a few hours later than what it typically would be. I'm sure you can tell by my voice and my shortness of breath that I am actually quite ill at the moment. I have tested positive for the coronavirus now. Nothing to worry about, I'm fine, it's just a bad flu. But I just thought I'd be transparent with you guys what's going on the channel. It might be why there's a lack of content at times, why some of the videos are coming out a bit later than they normally would, and why I just lack energy in certain videos. So that's what's going on, but I thought I needed to talk about this game because it leaves Barcelona in a very awkward position in the group. And with the fact that they play Inter again next, lose that game and they're in a really bad position and they could go down to Europa League, or worst case scenario, not even that. So I want to talk about, one, how they were able to dominate the ball in this game, but then look at why they weren't able to create, what Inter done well, and then also how Inter punished them going the other way. Now if you saw the stats from the game, you would have seen that Barcelona had 72% possession, and I'll be honest, I wasn't too surprised about that. If you'd have said that before kickoff, I wouldn't have been surprised, because we know that in these sorts of games, Inter often like to sit off and kind of get men behind the ball, and this allowed Barcelona to build possession. Now, to build possession, Barcelona initially started in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, however they knew they couldn't stick to that shape because of the fact that Inter had a front two. So let's imagine that Christensen and Garcia stick as a back two like this, up against the front two of Inter. It makes it easy to stop them progressing the ball. So what we actually saw was Alonso pushed really far forward down one side, allowing Rafinha to come in, and Garcia would shift across, Christensen would shift across, and Roberto would come in almost like a right centre-back. He was still full-back, but very tucked in, very reserved on this side of the pitch. And that meant that Alonso and Dembele were the two players holding the width. Gavi pushed really high up the pitch, kind of in line with Rafinha, and then Busquets and Pedri sat deeper. So we've essentially got a 3-2-4-1 formation, with, like I said, Rafinha and Gavi both playing quite narrow in behind Lewandowski, whilst Ousmane Dembele and Marcos Alonso were providing the width. Now at the moment I've got Inter in a back three shape, but realistically it was more of a back five, with both the wing backs getting behind the ball, goal side of the man, and Inter basically sat off and said, can you break us down? We saw the two strikers sitting quite deep, essentially becoming midfielders. This was almost a five central midfielders from Inter, which made it very difficult for Barcelona to progress the ball down the middle of the pitch. Now, I think the reason Xavi went for Gavi and Rafinha in these areas was because he knows that they're players that like to kind of drift about the pitch, get on the ball in these different areas to create chances, and overload the midfield. But Inter's formation countered that, and it didn't allow Barcelona to overload midfield. So even if they dropped Lewandowski, Gavi and Rafinha all deeper, it was still only then 5 versus 5. And then they were leaving 3 centre-backs free. So this Inter shape was very defensive, very cautious, but it done the job because it didn't allow Barcelona to create any overloads in the middle of the pitch. And it meant that Barcelona had quite easy position in the back here, but they struggled through the middle. And that's of course an issue. Now, what Barcelona done as a consequence was went, alright, okay, we know you're going to do that, so let's try and progress the ball with our wider centre-backs, or one being Roberto. So Roberto and Garcia were now looking to progress the ball, and in particular, Roberto passing to Ousmane Dembele. I would love to see if there's a graph on this, but this has to have been the most common pass of the match. Dembele ended up with 100 touches, which is not normal for a winger. 100 touches for a winger is not normal. Rafinha on this side had 52, which kind of shows the difference. Basically, it felt like Barcelona ran out of ideas quite early, and the plan was basically to play this simple pass from Roberto to Dembele with this created angle, and then try and let him take on his man and get the ball into the box. And as a result, Ousmane Dembele attempted 24 crosses. 24 crosses are a lot of crosses in one match. If you said over a month that a winger attempted 24 crosses, you'd say that's about right. But to do that in one game is actually quite crazy. But Lewandowski in the middle just didn't have the finest game up top. He just didn't look the sharpest, but also you've got to consider he was often up against 3 centre-backs, which just made life extremely difficult for him. The other issue was that Inter just done a very good job of stopping the cross, which sounds daft with the amount they created, but it was the types of crosses that they were allowing into their box, which was important. So yes, Dembele put 24 crosses into the box, but they were always challenged, and they done this by dropping Mkhitaryan wide here, and essentially going 2 versus 1 against him. Now you might think that this leaves Gavi free in the middle here, but with Inter playing a back 3, it meant that Bastoni could often step out and follow him, something that he was more than willing to do, but also Correa could drop in as well, even deeper than what he was before, to make sure that they were never getting overran in these central areas. And what it done, right, is Dembele's a very tricky player. He often beats his man and gets the ball into the box. But the problem is, if he goes down the line like this, opens up onto his right foot like he's about to cross, Lewandowski makes a run, but it's defended well, so Dembele then cuts back onto his left foot. So then Lewandowski has to change his run again. If Dembele is cutting 3 or 4 times before getting the cross in, it's incredibly difficult for Lewandowski to make the movement and time the run right in the middle. Now, that's not criticism of Ousmane Dembele, because he was outnumbered and struggled. But it just made it very difficult for the Barcelona players in the box to really time their run and gauge it properly. Now, the only good thing that this did cause was the fact that several Inter players would come over. Because Dembele, that gravity, we know that he gravitates a lot of players towards him. Because he's just so good at football, teams know that they can't leave him free. And Inter knew that as well, so they often shifted a lot of players over to this side. And it did mean that occasionally, if Barcelona could cycle back and then go wide to Alonso on the other side, they then had a bit more space to attack, and Alonso could maybe try a cross from this side. But it just felt like crosses was all they had, and I think they could have been a bit more creative in the way that they attacked. One thing in particular I think they could have done is used underlaps and runs off the ball a bit more, third man runs. So let's say they were building down the left hand side, which did happen a decent amount as well. Inter were happy to shift all the way across. Bastoni would come very central despite being a left-sided centre-back, and then DiMarco would actually stay quite wide on Dembele, which isn't normal. Typically a defence would come quite narrow here. Of course the midfield would shift across, like so, and Bastoni would be picking up Gavi in this sort of area here. But with Dembele holding the width so much on the other side, and the wing-back staying with him, I think what Barcelona really could have utilised was the switch and then the underlapping run. I think that would have been much more difficult for Inter to deal with. Barcelona didn't really do it enough. They've done it a couple of times here and there, but nowhere near enough. And when I talk about Inter in a few seconds' time, we'll see that they've done that a bit more, and it caused problems for Barcelona. Barcelona didn't really do it back. And for all the technical footballers that Barcelona have, they lacked someone that really wanted to run off the ball, and I think that is so important. I feel like I go on about it quite a lot, but you need runners off the ball. Because if you create a space, which Barcelona have done here, they've drawn everyone over to one side from an Inter perspective, and then they've held Dembele wide on the other side. They've created a space now in this pocket with Bastoni defending quite narrow. You've got to exploit it though with someone then making the run. There's no point in making space if no one then attacks it. And it actually led to Inter defending quite easily for the majority of the game. Now, like I said, Inter only had 28% of the ball, so they spent a lot of time behind the ball. Barcelona were on top. They attempted a lot of crosses into the box, but they just didn't get many shots off the goal, and they didn't really have any clear chances. Now, what I will say in their defence is I thought they were really hard done by on a penalty late on. I think they should have had a penalty, but outside of that, they just didn't create enough. And like I said, these guys play each other again next week. Xavi needs to come up with something to break this team down. We'll see whether or not he does it. If it's an entertaining game, then I will cover it on the channel. But now it's time to talk about Inter real quick. Now, this bit on Inter is going to be brief. One, because I'm losing my voice, but two, because when you only have 28% of the ball, there's only so many certain what? I can't speak. There's only so many patterns that start to develop. Got there eventually. Like, you only see so many patterns if you only have 28% of the ball. And I want to talk about the main one which really punished Barcelona. Inter didn't come forward too often, but there was one time in particular that they got it really right, and there was a couple of times it looked like threatening. And of course, that was in transition. Inter, it was quite rare for them to have settled periods of possession, so it came when they could win the ball, back off Barcelona who were attacking, and then look to counter. And I actually thought one of the most important players was Correa. Now, during the first 20 minutes or so of the game, he didn't touch the ball, I don't think. I can't remember him getting involved, and Inter were struggling to get out. Even when they won the ball off Barcelona, they couldn't then really build anything from there. However, after that, Correa started to grow into the game and was doing a good job of getting into this area here, dropping in behind the Barcelona midfield, where he was essentially the free man. And this is where Inter kind of used a trigger point to then pounce. That was the sign for them to quickly counterattack, and it was the wing-backs that were the most important. And instantly they were making us run forward. Correa could then lay the ball off either to one of the wing-backs or one of the midfielders, and then the big option always was to switch out wide into open space. With Barcelona kind of building possession in this narrow 3, it left this room out here, out in these wide areas, and that is what Inter looked to hit. Big switches of play out wide either to Darmian or to DeMarco on the other side, and then from here we would then get either Barella making an underlapping run in behind the defence, or if the ball had been built the other side, Mkhitaryan would then make the underlapping run, and that was their best method of attacking. And it is what we saw for their goal. Let me find it here. So it starts here. Barcelona have clearly just attacked. We can see all the numbers that got forward. Correa drops in, holds the ball up, plays the ball wide to the wing-back, who then plays what I will say is an absolutely ridiculous long switched pass, cutting across the ball outside of the left boot, and it bends beautifully out to the right wing, where Darmian gets the ball and then kind of comes inside. He puts the ball into the box. It all gets a bit messy. We can see Barella's underlapping run here into the box, but it all gets a bit messy. The ball comes in, kind of gets half dealt with, eventually falls for Calhanoglu on the edge of the box with an absolutely ridiculous finish into the bottom corner, and that was enough to get into all 3 points. Now, in terms of an attacking point of view for Inter, it wasn't exactly a tactical masterclass. It was just utilising the width of the pitch that was provided by those wing-backs, then getting those underlapping runs from the midfielders, and then a moment of magic from Calhanoglu. That is how Inter beat Barcelona, and that is how Inter have now got themselves into a good position in the group. And this game between the two sides next week is now massive. But let me know what you thought of the game. Did you think that Inter deserved to win? Do you think Barcelona should have had a penalty late on? What were some of the issues that Barcelona faced during the game? All of that good stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Tomorrow I'm hoping to cover the game between Benfica and PSG. I think that should be a good game. Let me know if you want to see that. But yeah, that's that for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.